Okay, so this section is all about marketing your stream, but not just marketing it, but marketing it well. Primarily, we're going to be using stuff around social media. So, running through some of the more common social medias that are used by streamers, which will be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, which you wouldn't quite expect to be a social media, but it does kind of work in that fashion. Instagram, and we're also going to look at some methods of just kind of managing them all in one. So rather than you having to go to one place and another place and another place and another place to get your content put in place and to get it out there, there are some useful tools that allow you to manage it all in one spot, save you having to sort of mess around and track different bits and pieces down. And obviously we're going to be using all of those different methods to direct people into your stream, to funnel them into interacting with you, which again is going to build your awareness. And by the end of this section, you're going to have the ability to link up all of your stuff into a management tool, know what you're doing on those social medias in order to engage with people, and you're going to fill out an action plan of what you want to do with your social media in order to reach your goals for expanding your influence and expanding the amount of people that you're going to be interacting with a view to get them into your stream. So without any further hesitation, let's get the ball rolling with it. So first things first, let's look at Twitter. Now, Twitter is a great tool. It's one that's very commonly used by a lot of streamers in order to get their thoughts out into the world, to get people to know that their stream's gone live. So I find it very, very important in that fashion. Now, first things first, we really need to ensure there's not just a feed of "Hi, I'm going live," "Hi, I'm going live," "Hi, I'm going live," because that's not engaging, that's not interesting. People aren't going to follow you just to see that same tweet going out time and time and time and time again. It's not of interest to people. So you need to make sure to vary it up. Put some opinions out there, put some memes out there to interact with some of your fellow streamers, some of the game studios that you've got going out there. You see something interesting happen in your day, throw it up there. It's all content. Take a picture of your cat, whatever it is that you want to do with your Twitter. Turn it into not just a front for your channel, but a front for you as an individual, to really inject your personality across the platform as a whole. Now, another thing to really try to avoid is falling into the trap of using hashtags in the hopes that they're going to improve your visibility. So one of the most common ones is hashtag support small streamers. You'll see that a lot. A lot of people still continue to use that, but the way to really look into that one is, do you really want to label yourself as small? Well, I don't want to specifically go and seek out a small streamer. There's no implicit value in the fact that you're small as opposed to anything else. You want to make sure that people support good streamers, entertaining streamers, people that are playing this specific game. That's the kind of information that you want to put out there. You don't want to kind of pigeonhole yourself as a small streamer, as a certain type of streamer, because that hashtag itself has negative connotations. A lot of people will view that as a kind of negative thing for you to say about yourself. It's saying that you don't have any positives of your own to sell over Twitter. All you have is the fact that you're small, and that means nothing to anyone. So hashtagging in a kind of thematic sense like that, or just hashtag this stream team, it doesn't mean anything, because that stream team could be hugely varied. It could be entirely different from person to person to person. So when you're making your go live streams, make sure that they're about the content you're making. What unique edge do you bring to your content? Are you, I don't know, wearing a stupid hat that day? Are you going to be telling dad jokes for the entirety of the stream? Are you first time playing through Dark Souls blind and you're going to fall into every ravine that you come across? That's the important information you want to put across. Don't waste characters on trying to pigeonhole yourself into less interesting demographics, I suppose. And, make sure that you are interacting with the people whose content you love, but equally, make sure that you're not begging them to come view you. When you're going live, please don't, just tag 50 different streamers into that go live tweet, because that'll earn you a mute on Twitter. People will just mute you and no longer see your content at all, and that's not going to help you in any way, shape, or form. What you want to be doing is interacting with those people, bringing a smile into their day, bringing them something interesting to talk about, adding into the debates that they're having, and they'll become interested in what you're doing. They'll become interested in the content that you're making because they want to, continue that sort of friendship that you're growing. It's very, very important to build those friendships in whatever different platforms that you choose to use. Now, it is important to your brand across, so make sure that your banner at the top of your Twitter feed, as well as your profile picture, are somewhat relevant to your branding. It makes sense to have that continuity across different platforms, because otherwise people aren't going to know necessarily that it's even you. The username kind of drops out of people's memory quite easily, but the image is something that really kind of sticks into people's minds, especially if you're using it throughout your Twitch on your BRB screen or your intro screen, in some of your panels, stuff like that. It really kind of ties everything together quite nicely. Do make sure that you are retweeting and hearting or loving all of the tweets that you're getting back and forth. I mean, don't retweet and love everything that you get come through, but the more that you do take part in that, the more visible that you become on Twitter as a platform, and the more visible that person becomes in turn. Plus, it kind of creates a level of gratitude between you and the person you're communicating with, because they understand that you appreciated that tweet that they sent to you so much that you would choose to retweet it, you would choose to heart it. It will make sense, right? And also, take advantage of the platform. Twitter is mostly a marketing tool, right? In large part, there is a lot of marketing done on it. So pretty much every games developer under the sun is on Twitter. So if you are going to, let's say you're going to stream some Final Fantasy 14 today, throw in an @Final Fantasy on there. Throw in an @Square Enix, whatever, different area you're in. They'll all have their local accounts. Find them in there, @them as you go live, to tell them that you're showing off their game at that point in time. They may well retweet you to their thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of followers on social media on some occasions. If you catch them at the right time and they're like, hey, yeah, let's check out this guy, let's promote this guy. And it makes sense to do that. Take advantage of all the tools that you've got there. They're interested in promoting their game. You are promoting their game. It makes sense for that kind of link up to occur. And especially with indie developers as well, they're more than happy to share what the people are creating content around their game. So I'm not saying take advantage of it, because that's a very negative way of putting in it, but make sure that they know that you're making content about their baby, and they'll be pleased to know about that. I can almost guarantee you, on every occasion, unless you're sitting there bashing their game for the entirety of the stream, which odds are you probably won't be, then they're going to be very pleased. They're going to want to share that with people and let them know that they can go and check out their game on your stream. So, use Twitter in a smart way, in a way that you can really spread your influence without just spamming people left, right, and centre, and you'll notice noticeable growth day on day, week on week, and month on month. Now, Facebook is a bit of a weird one. It's not perhaps the most highly sought after social media platform for live streaming, mainly because Facebook has kind of these weird algorithms that restrict how many people see things from certain sources. So I would say it's definitely worth you putting together a fan page for yourself, which you can do quite easily on Facebook. It gives people a place to come and check out your stuff that isn't just your personal profile, which you may very well want to keep private because it contains your real name, perhaps information about your life that you don't necessarily want to share with your stream. But having a fan page there gives you the ability to post some additional updates through Facebook, posting when you go live, posting general interest bits about your stream and about what you're doing. And it will give people another way to find you, another way to see those announcements as they go up, and to share them throughout a different sort of social sphere than the ones on, say Twitter or Instagram or so forth. Now, one thing that I've seen that's very, very successful is posting like a highlight of the week or a clip of the week on your Facebook page, as that will be able to autoplay on your Facebook, get shared around very readily. Facebook actually likes sharing videos quite a lot. As far as their algorithms are concerned, they much prefer showing videos as opposed to still images. So that's certainly something that's worth considering there. And I would say that it's worth you ducking into a few other fan pages as well. There are a number of Twitch supportive pages across Facebook. They provide a few different spots for Twitch streamers to get together. And again, don't get suckered into the follow for follow culture. That doesn't really benefit anyone other than to bump up some numbers. They're not necessarily going to come and actually visit you in your stream. But it does give you another way of perhaps finding some new friends, some new people that you might want to play with, and it can help grow your exposure that way as well. And again, make sure to keep your brand materials consistent. So all of your logo and banner and stuff like that you've got on your Twitch channel, make sure you're bringing them across to Facebook. Make sure you're keeping those updated as well. If you do like a redesign or a revamp of your channel, make sure that you're also doing a redesign and a revamp of your social media platforms as well. It's nice for everything to remain consistent, so make sure that you're doing that with your Facebook, your Twitter, your YouTube, your Instagram, your everything. It's very, very important to do so. But yes, Facebook isn't going to be like the winner for you, I would imagine. It's not typically that well performing, if we're being entirely honest, but it does perform to a degree. It's well worth covering over, and once we get a little bit further into this section, you will have ways of managing your Facebook alongside your Twitter and your Instagram and your whatever else at the same time. So it's not going to take entirely too much more effort for you to maintain a Facebook page, but at the same time, it does provide you with that extra bit of exposure, that extra bit of reach, that extra bit of positioning of your stream as kind of a known entity. So it's well worth entertaining, and it's well worth pursuing. Now, YouTube, you might not think, hey, that's a social media platform that I should be using, but it kind of does fall into that same sort of pile of ways to reach further with your Twitch account. So the best way that I consider using it is kind of using it as a highlight reel. So it's all of the best clips, all of the best highlights, all of the best footage from your channel is just stored up on there. It's shown off on there, and you've got kind of a repository away from Twitch of some of your best work that people can in turn discover on that platform. Now, odds are you're quite unlikely to make money on YouTube. It's very difficult to break into, and it's become more and more difficult as time has gone by, unless you're focusing on that fully with like a big production behind you, a lot of production value. It's very, 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 very difficult. You need something like 2,000 hours viewed per month to even qualify to earn money at this stage. So it's not really a method to directly earn money, but as long as you're in your description for each video that you're making, you're putting all of your relevant linkage to your Twitter, your Facebook, your Twitch, your Instagram, your whatever, like all of your different social links are in there every single time. You link up your Twitch account to your YouTube, so it shows when you are live on YouTube. If you look through your settings, your channel settings, it'll be in there somewhere. It gives you an extra way of presenting your information, your footage, to a new crowd, a different crowd. You may get discovered in different ways than you are on other platforms through YouTube. And obviously the sheer number of people that utilize YouTube every single day, there's a large pool of people to work with there. So you've got the ability to reach out to it. So make sure that you're tagging all of your YouTube videos very well. There are a number of different resources online that you can find sort of good tagging techniques on there, which we don't have the time here on this course to really go in depth on. That kind of needs to be its own sort of YouTube course on how to YouTube well. So we'll leave that for another time. But there's certainly something to be said for tagging your content very well. So do keep a lookout for that. Now, it is very unlikely that you are going to gain a massive boost from YouTube. But again, it's one of those things where it's additional value that you can provide your Twitch users, because they will be able to find sort of these compiled clip compilations or whatever it is that you're doing there quite nice and easily. And I would say on the whole, at this point in time, in any case at the point of filming, that YouTube works better than Twitch for sort of pre-recorded content. So definitely take advantage of that. Now, you do have to be sort of extra careful on YouTube. So YouTube has a very, very sort of harsh and strict policy for, say, using copywritten music, copywritten footage as well. You can have your videos taken down for having certain types of footage in there that you do not own yourself. Now, you would need to consult very closely with the various different game companies that you're working with to see if you are even allowed to post that footage out. A lot of companies do allow it. Some kind of allow it under duress. Some of them try to steal the advertising revenue away from you if you were earning any at that point, but they may enforce having ads on your video. There's a lot of sort of pitfalls there for that. So do keep that in mind. Do try to avoid using copywritten footage as much as possible. Game trailers are ones to really try to avoid for the most part. They will tend to get claimed very, very heavily. The other thing to be aware of is if you are sort of breaching those kind of guidelines on a regular basis, it can result in your account being restricted and potentially removed from YouTube as well. So be very careful. They are a lot stricter than many other platforms and stuff like that. So yeah, be very, very careful with the way you go forth with that. Now, again, do try to keep your brand imagery consistent across platforms. YouTube does have some different sizing dimensions than other platforms, so make sure that you've got everything sort of possible to move into a different sizing requirement. It makes sense to keep everything all up to date across all of your different platforms that you do take part in. And try, if you're going to really use this as a platform to promote yourself on, and you really want to use that as a way of reaching more and more people, you need to keep, much like Twitch, you need to keep a consistent schedule. So you're going to upload weekly, bi-weekly, every day, every 2 days, whatever it is that you're going to do. Make sure that you know how much work it would take to put into each video that you're putting up, and then create yourself a sensible schedule based around that, because it's unrealistic for most people to upload a video every single day, because that's a lot of content to pull together, then edit together, and then actually process into a video and then process the upload. Like, that's a hell of a time sink, and you probably wouldn't even have any spare time to stream, let alone create all of the video stuff to go along with it. But if you can manage to keep getting these videos out, even once a week, here are the best clips that we had this week. These are the best highlights, the most hilarious things that have happened this week, whatever it is that you want to do. If you can keep a schedule like that, you know, every Monday I'm going to put up a new compilation of the best bits of my stream. People will start to revisit and keep coming back to them and start sharing them with people. And the more viewership that you start to get on those videos, the more it will be generally shared across YouTube through its algorithm, and it will build and it will grow and it will snowball across time. So if you can stick to it, do stick to it. I would say YouTube is mostly optional. Some people just don't use it at all. Some people use it heavily to great effect. But it is very much a large time sink, and it's whether you can accommodate the time sink that will go into that as to how far you should push it. Myself, I'll put like occasional particularly good clips and particularly good highlights up there, along with using it as like a backup archive for the podcast product that I produce. So, you know, every individual's usage of it is going to vary to some degree. So find out what fits for you with YouTube and make sure that you're sticking to that very closely. Now, Instagram, you may well be thinking, what the hell does that have to do with Twitch? And to be honest, I was in that camp for quite a long time myself. I'm not a big fan of Instagram as a platform, if we're being entirely honest. I don't feel like it does anything that other platforms can't already do, but it's proving to be very popular, and it's proving to be very, very useful for streamers to get information out there about what they're doing. Now, much like Twitter, it's very well worth making sure that you're not just posting go live posts rather, over and over and over and over again, because that's not content that people are willing to engage with. Now, you want to be spreading those in between other posts around other subjects. Hey, here's some cool gaming merch that I've got at the moment. Here is a really cool figurine that I've got of this character that I really love from this certain game. Stuff like that. You want to really sort of sprinkle a lot of that stuff through there and have the go lives as the occasional exception rather than the rule of that channel. Now, the really important part, as you may have gathered if you've ever seen Instagram, is hashtagging. Hashtagging is very important to ensure that people find your content across Instagram. Now, it's very hard to over hashtag any given post, honestly. Hashtagging is fine. Make sure that you're using all of the different variations of each term. So, you know, you could have gaming, gamer, games, video games, stuff like that. So all of the different variations of the same word do really make a difference, because again, that's kind of hitting into the search terminology that some people are using. It works in the same way as if you've ever done anything with it, with like SEO ranking on Google, for example. Search engine optimization, SEO stands for, if you don't know. it's ways people find a website, because when someone Googles something, they're not necessarily going to Google the word game. They might Google the term gamer instead, because they are a gamer. They're looking for other gamers rather than looking for other games. And so you need to kind of cover all of those bases at the same time. And obviously you need to make sure those tags are relevant to the image in question to some degree or another. Because if you're putting, I don't know, hashtag broccoli on there and it's a picture of you playing a game, people that are searching for hashtag broccoli are not going to be happy with finding your post. They're not going to engage with your post because it's not what they're looking for at that point in time, where that person may well still be a gamer, but they've already kind of mentally blacklisted you because you turned up when they didn't want to see you, if you know what I mean. But make sure that you're posting on a consistent schedule. You will tend to notice, if you start off playing around with the times and days that you post content on, you will typically find that certain points and periods in the day and days of the week work better for when you're posting content out there. Now, it does take a little bit of playing around because it's very regional, it's very time zone dependent, it's very content dependent as well. So, you know, just play around to start off with. Try a few different times of the day, a few different bits and pieces that you can be doing, and you will find that something will click and one of your posts will really start gaining some traction. And that is when you should really be scheduling that into one of the times when you should start posting on a regular basis. You know, 2 p.m. on Tuesday, one of my posts just went absolutely flying up the rankings. You know, got loads and loads and loads of reposting and comments and whatever else on it. So 2 p.m. on Tuesday, I should always try to have a post up then, and you should notice a trend with those 2 p.m. Tuesday posts continually doing well. But that's really down to you to play around with to try and get that right in the first place. It's very hard to kind of give you those dates and times because, as I say, content will vary, time zones will vary, location will vary. But the more that you do that, make sure that you're linking everything in on that post as well. You know, you're writing a short little blurb about what is going on with that picture and giving some context for that picture. And then at the end, you know, you want to see some more, twitch.tv/blah blah blah, here's my username. Always make sure that you're putting that across as consistent messaging across your posts as well, because, you know, those posts that really become a hit, your Twitch username is going to be out there a lot more, your Twitch link is going to be out there a lot more for people to be able to interact with it. So Instagram, as I say, you wouldn't expect it to necessarily be the world's best tool, but it's surprisingly good, and a lot of people haven't really tapped into it yet. That's the main thing. A lot of Twitch streamers have not tapped into just how useful Instagram can be as an advertising tool. As I say, myself, I don't like Instagram. I would never use it for myself. But the value that it provides as a Twitch streamer, as a marketing tool, are just head and shoulders above any other platform. So make sure that Instagram is one of the ones in your rotation. So we've covered across a bunch of different social media platforms that you can use to put your content out there and pull people into your channel. But there is a little bit of a shortcut, and that is a social media management platform. Now, these are typically used by sort of larger companies. Let's say, I don't know, I work for the Mars company, and I have a Twitter for each and every chocolate bar that Mars create. I would link them all up to a social media management platform, and then I would be able to post as Mars and post as Galaxy and post as, I forget any other chocolate bars that Mars makes, but they make loads. And I could just use that same interface to post to all of these different channels. And I can post to all of them at the same time, I can post to all of them separately, whatever I want to do with that. Now, there are a few good examples, and these will be over in the activities PDF when we get to that a little bit further into this section. But you've got stuff like Hootsuite, Buffer, TweetDeck. TweetDeck's a very good one. There's something called If This and That, or IFTT for short. I presume there's probably a better way of saying that, but that's how I like to say it. Now, there's a plethora of different options, and honestly, the best way to go through them is to look at them for yourself to see which really suit your needs best. I personally use Hootsuite because it really covers all of the bases. You can do your Facebook, your Twitter, your even stuff like LinkedIn and specific fan pages or specific sort of sub-accounts of different bits and pieces. It really covers a hell of a lot of bases. You can even post direct to YouTube through it, which is something a lot of other platforms lack. But it's really, really useful to just be able to spread everything across and line everything up and schedule them for all of the platforms in one place. So you can schedule a post to go up at, say, 6 p.m. on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, if you care to use LinkedIn for it for some unknown reason. All at the same time, on one place, in one time. You're not going to have to go into each individual site and schedule it up. It's super, super handy. Now, you can put a consistent message out across all of the platforms. I generally suggest to put a slightly differentiated message across based on each platform, because each platform does operate differently. The way that you post on, say, a Facebook post where you might do quite a long bit of writing would be a different type of post to the one that you might put on Instagram, for example, where you kind of want that one paragraph, a ton of hashtags, and the image to go along with it. So it's more of a case of just bringing everything together in one place and just simplifying the process down for yourself, rather than necessarily just posting the same thing across all platforms. You can do that, especially for your go lives. Makes sense to do that for the most part. You know, it's just a message saying, hey, I'm going live and you should come watch me for this reason. But for your generalized content, it might not necessarily suit doing that. Now, some of these platforms do cost based on certain requirements. So like TweetDeck is completely free, for example. There's something like Hootsuite. You have a limit on how many accounts that you can link up at one time. And beyond that, you have to pay, it's about £7 a month. Something like that, to get a few more accounts on there, and then you go up to about £15 a month or something like that. Obviously, costs vary based on region to region and currency to currency, but that's roughly the ballpark figures. So it's a consideration, obviously. It might push you away from using that service, potentially. Because obviously, you know, why would you want to spend money until you can prove that you can start making it back and it's worthwhile you spending that money in the first place, when there are free options. Like I say, TweetDeck is a very good free option to take a look at, that you could be using without spending the money out. Now, another thing that these platforms allow you to do is to take a bit of a dive into the information and to see how well those posts are being engaged with, and to see how well they're doing from platform to platform. And a lot of them will have like reporting tools that allow you to kind of pull that data out and take a look at it. Now, you could lose yourself in interpreting that data forevermore, and obviously you don't want to be spending more time delving into this data than you are actually creating content and interacting with people. But it is useful, like I was saying in the Instagram lecture a little bit before. You will find certain points in the day and days of the week that perform better for you when you're posting content out, and there will be some level of regularity with that across time. You won't find that that's always the golden rule, but you'll find that there's generally some kind of trend that happens for you with how well that your posts kick off. So, you know, make sure you're experimenting when you're posting this content up. Make sure you're looking at the engagements and looking at the shares, the retweets, the loves, hearts, likes, whatever it is on whatever platform that you're getting from them, so you can really estimate when's the best time to be striking and getting that content out there to make sure it's being seen by the most people possible. And these social media management platforms really do allow you to dive in almost as deeply as you want to, which is super, super useful. But that would be the one thing that I really would say is a good takeaway from this, is it's the ability to just shrink it down into one place. You can do everything from one spot. You can look at all of your information, all of your statistics, all in one spot. You can schedule all of your posts in one spot. It honestly takes so much time out. It sounds silly to say, but the amount of time you save from not having to go to this site, 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 and sort of duplicating a level of effort each time as you're going to try and make these postings, you have no idea how much time you will save until you engage with it. So take a look, especially at the free options as well, because there is absolutely no harm getting involved in using one of those free options, and see if they do suit your needs. Everyone is different with the way that they approach social media. Some people will like to do it direct through each site, but honestly, these are a huge time saver, and they've saved me countless hours of effort over the years. So now let's talk about little techniques, little ways to really leverage the social media interactions that you have to try and increase your influence a little bit, because that's the point after all, right? So one of the ones that people tend to do quite a bit are giveaways through Twitch, through Twitter, through whatever social media platform that you care to choose. There are benefits to doing them. You will typically gain more followers for it if you make one of the provisions for them joining that giveaway to be following. Some people will unfollow afterwards. Some people will stay around. But not necessarily are they ever going to come back to your channel again. Some may well do, if you engage them and catch them whilst they're still there. But it's generally a poor quality way of recruiting those followers to the channel. But as I say, it can work. It can increase some numbers. It can create regular viewers, but the likelihood of it is quite low versus the outlay of whatever that prize is going to be. If you're going to be paying for it out of your own pocket, you're picking them up a AAA game for 50, 60 pounds or dollars or whatever it is that your currency is. The outlay is not necessarily going to be as high as the level of return that you receive. A great thing that I recommend using if you are going to do giveaways is something called Gleam.io. It allows you to create a way for users to enter your giveaway by following your Twitter and also looking at your Facebook and also looking at your Twitch and extra entries for being a sub on Twitch and whatever else. It all does it for you in one widget, and it's all super easy to set up, and it mandates all of those different things to happen for those people to enter the giveaway. So it's super useful if you are going to go down the giveaway route to do so. So that's my recommendation there. Giveaways not always the most useful way of creating quality new users for your channel, but it can help. So take that one on balance, I would say. One of the other things to do is not just chatting with your fellow content creators, but also chatting with games PR people and games devs. A lot of people almost kind of miss them out somehow, but ultimately they're all humans. They're just the same as you or I here. They're there because they're damn good at their job as well. They're there because they love games and they're very good at talking about games. Otherwise, they'd never have gotten the job in the first place. So you can talk back and forth with those people, and if they start liking your tweets, I mean, I'm talking on Twitter because that's probably the easiest way to reach out to those folks. You can do it elsewhere, but Twitter's usually the easiest platform to do so. But if they start liking your tweets and start retweeting your tweets, you're going to be seen by a much wider audience, and those people may take an interest in you because of the banter and the joking that you've had with those people. Now I'm saying again, you don't use these people to like further yourself. Just befriend them. They're honestly some of the nicest people in the industry. Some of my best and most enjoyable interactions on, well, all the social media platforms for that matter, because some of them have even become like Facebook friends where we've gotten on so well. I have been with people that are in sort of games PR or games developers, because they're super friendly people. They're really, really nice people. Just have conversations with them, make jokes with them, join in whatever things that they're doing at that point in time. It's well worth doing. And honestly, just talk about nonsense. Talk about absolute weird garbage. That's what I do, because people go, oh, that's weird, retweet. And then the next person sees, oh, that's weird, retweet. Just find jokey, spoofy, weird and wonderful little things. So, some of my best performing tweets have been just weird stuff that I've found on the internet. I'll actually put a couple of links to a couple of my more popular tweets into the activity sheet that's going to be coming after this, and you'll see what I mean. They're absolutely nonsensical tweets, but they were popular and they gained me followers, and those followers are already invested because I brought them this weird bit of entertainment. So they're thinking, well, my content is possibly going to be like that weird entertainment, right? And it builds more friendship and more boundary than turning around to someone and saying, hey, do you want to follow my Twitch? And that's the main point to take away with that. And, you know, make sure that you're extending your Twitch personality across into your social media. If you're a very quirky streamer, make sure you're quirky on your social media as well. Because people will engage better with that same consistent individual rather than kind of the night and day effect between the two. Even if, you know, you don't feel like being quirky all the time on social media, just make sure that you still have some of those moments leaking through. You know, some of the weird observations that you might have, or some of the weird moments in games where maybe you're playing games off stream, but, you know, you can just capture a little clip of the gameplay or talk about the weird gameplay that occurred or whatever else. Make sure you're sharing that out there as well, because it's of interest to your audience and it links in to everything that you're doing on stream as well. And I guess my final point as well is make sure you know where the boundary is between you and your community. And it's important to put that in place quite firmly and quite early. So some streamers are completely happy. They'd all but give you their home address for all it matters. They don't care. Like that, you know, they want you to be your best friend. They want to add you on Steam, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Discord, on every service under the sun. They just want to, you know, be friends with you, basically. And that's absolutely perfectly fine. Presuming that you, or the streamer, are okay having that level of interaction with various different people, and you're able to sustain that as you grow as a streamer as well, because obviously the more and more people coming in, the more and more crowded these friend lists get, and the more and more messages you start getting come in. So, you know, there's something to be to be considered there, should I say. Or you might go the other end of the spectrum and just remain somewhat aloof, you know, almost like a TV presenter, right? They don't befriend everyone that's tuning into the evening news as a newsreader. They're just there to present the content that they're there to present, and they keep kind of almost at arm's length from their community. Now, that's not as engaging, and that's not as value building, I would say, in general, to remain kind of a little distant and a little aloof like that. But it is safer for you to do that. You know, that it must be kind of apparent that you do get some bad actors involved in various different people's communities. There can be some slightly awkward or dangerous individuals that enter into your stream community. So be aware of how much information you share, especially about your personal location and perhaps your personal life outside of the stream. if you share that you live in X city and you're going to X shop today, there is a level of risk that someone may become aware of that and may turn up at that location. So there's a level of safety to retain there, honestly. But it's entirely down to you. But decide early and put in the boundaries early to ensure that you are safeguarded and you are secure in what type of streamer you are and what type of interaction you have with your audience, because it's always easy to put them in place at the start of the process. It's quite hard to change it once you've gotten a bit further down the line, because if you're going to change further down the line, odds are it's going to be more defensive and keeping more information to yourself. And a lot of people will feel a little deflated when you do so. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that if you feel like you need to. Absolutely, your safety and your health from like the level of bombardment you may get from overeager fans might be, but it's better to have had those plans put into place in the first place rather than having to change plans further down the line. So do be mindful of just even being a little bit overzealous in how restrictive you want to be to start out with until you find your kind of groove with it, would be my advice there. But those are hopefully some steps that will really help you to try and sort of utilise your social media in the best and safest way possible. So for this activity, all you need to do here, it should be quite straightforward, as you may have some of these done already, is to sign up for the social media platforms that you're going to use to promote your stream. The recommendations here really are Twitter and Instagram at the bare minimum, with the addition of Facebook and YouTube as well as additional sources to use here. And then make sure that they're all linked up, they're all linked on your Twitch profile and vice versa, and start scheduling up some posts. Start scheduling them up at different times throughout the day to try and start experimenting with what time frames work the best to get the most interaction on each of your posts. And of course as well, we mentioned a little bit earlier on as well that there are going to be some additional links on there for you to take a look at to see examples of tweets that make no sense as far as streaming is concerned, but perform well and pull in extra people. So streaming culture is a bit of a weird thing, and there's a lot to understand from a Twitch perspective. So we're going to run through in this section around what sort of common memes, slang, terminology that there is around Twitch, because a lot of it is just almost impenetrable, especially when you're new to the platform. some of the most common emotes that are used, and how they're used, and why they're used in certain situations. Different parts of Twitch as well that you may not have encountered before. So you've got stuff like the IRL section, creative section, music sections, even bits for like anime and stuff like that, and whether you can use those or not. And also, we're really going to teach you some of the really important parts around the TOS, because the TOS is the rule book for Twitch, right? And we've actually got an activity there as well, which you're going to complete to give yourself more of an understanding about the TOS and how it works within Twitch and how you're going to have to deal with it when you're working on Twitch. So make sure to take a look out with that. So let's get going. Let's start taking a look at some do's and don'ts on Twitch. So here's a list of do's and don'ts for you to use on Twitch as a platform as a whole, and even a little bit outside of Twitch as well, because a lot of the stuff that you do outside of Twitch can affect you on Twitch as well. So first off, self-promotion. Don't just throw your stream out into someone else's chat, force your stream onto other people, push your stream out in DMs and IMs and whatever else in such a way that it's just you spamming your link at someone. It's terrible, 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 terrible as an idea. Don't do it. Even if you think you're being sly with doing it and going, oh, by the way, I do stream, or oh, I will be streaming a bit later on, or I play this game too on my stream, or whatever else. People see that for what it is. They'll call you out for it, and you probably won't be welcome in that community much anymore. Don't do it. It's never worth it whatsoever. Now, never overpromise and underdeliver is something that I see people fall victim of quite a lot. They have really big plans for their stream, and that's fantastic. And it's great to have a goal that you're leading towards, but don't promise the world. Don't sit there saying, I'm going to stream 12 hours every day from now until 2050, and then in fact only stream for like 3 days a week forevermore. Because people will just think that you're not really trustworthy, that you don't stick to your word and you don't stick to your guns. It's fantastic to make great claims of what you're doing and what you're going to do, but only if you actually do them. And it's worth keeping in mind. It's worth being careful around that. As I say, I see a lot of people do it, and it goes down very unfavourably. I've even unfollowed people that continually say, oh yeah, I'm going to stream ridiculous amounts of hours this week, and then they only stream a little bit and go, oh, actually I'm too tired to do it. If they'd just only done the streams that they were able to do in the first place, I'd have a lot more respect for them. Never ignore your stream whilst you're streaming and just be sat there going, okay, it's fantastic, this cutscene's way too long, I'm just gonna I'll answer this text, and someone sent me a tweet, actually. That's pretty good. That's funny. It's a good cat picture. It's the most rude thing that you can do to your stream. Like, I can't express how annoying it is. Like, you're there to put on a bit of a show, right? And while you're trying to hang out with people, it's like when you sat there at dinner with someone, and you're trying to have a conversation, you're talking about your day, and oh yeah, it's fantastic, we went out and whatever else, and they're just sat there opposite. Yeah, yeah, whatever. Oh, she's getting married, is she? Like, it's just super rude. No, don't do it, please don't do it. one of the things that you should really try to avoid as well is having a bot in your channel that calls out lurkers, or calling out lurkers yourself. There are some chat programs that allow you to see who's like entering and leaving your chat. Calling out lurkers is one of the most uncomfortable things that you can do on Twitch, honestly, because some people do just want to sit there and do their thing throughout the day, right? You have you on in the background and they go off and do whatever they're going to do, and that's fine. But if they're getting called out, they feel like they have to participate in the stream and say hi and whatever else when they really don't want to at that point in time. So just, let them have their lurk, and don't scare them off from coming back because they think every time they're going to come in here, they're going to have you going, "Oh, hi, this dude. Oh, God, how are you doing? How's your day?" and whatever else. I understand your hunger for people to have people in your chat to talk to, but don't pull people out of their silence in order to force a conversation, because it's not enjoyable for them at all. Always make sure that you care for your mental health, because streaming is hard. Streaming is really hard and it's really straining. It's very difficult not to look at the numbers and worry about how you match up against other people, and this person's succeeding but I'm not succeeding right now. They've got 100 viewers, I've only got 2 viewers. What am I doing wrong? It's really easy to get caught in that kind of thought pattern. One of the best pieces of, advice, it's not quite advice, I guess, but one of the best things I ever heard was from a streamer called Old Volpine, who's now changed his username to something else. But he said the worst thing that can happen to you on Twitch is having a good day, because it sets up that expectation. So you've had a fantastic day, you've had 1,000 viewers, you've had 1,000 followers, you've had $3,000 in tips and 1 million subs and whatever else, and then the next day you're back to a normal day, and it feels like you've done something wrong. Well, I earned all of that yesterday, why am I not earning that today? And it really plays on your mind, and it can really mess with your mental health, and it can, especially if you have some kind of mental health issue in the first place. I most certainly do. It certainly affects me in that way. So make sure that you're being aware of any sort of warning signs that your mental health is deteriorating in any way, and that you're struggling to deal with the strain that streaming can have on your mental health. And make sure to take some time to self-care. It really does make a difference. Never shit talk other streamers, like ever, because it comes back to them, and then it comes back to you, and you get a reputation for being the kind of person that shit talks other people. Other people don't want to work with you, they don't want to support you, they don't want to promote you, and you look like an idiot. Quite frankly, you look like an idiot. It's like in the office, if you were to start, making fun of your colleagues or whatever else, and it got back around to them, how awkward that office atmosphere would become. No different with streaming. No different at all. And also, kind of splitting off of that is, don't act badly in other people's streams either, especially like event streams as well, like really big, busy streams, like 100,000 viewers or whatever else, because odds are, if there's 100,000 viewers in that channel, some of your viewers, or some of your followers, or someone that you know on the platform is also going to be there. So if you're in there like insulting the talent on screen at that point in time, odds are other people are going to see that, and they're going to think you look like a real idiot and the sort of person they just don't want to be linked to in any way, shape or form. I've seen a lot of even partners performing like really, really badly in a lot of event streams, and it just turns you off of wanting to deal with them ever again, honestly. And it's worth keeping in mind as well that stretches beyond Twitch. If you make a YouTube video that's like hugely racist, for example, that can come back and bite you on the arse and get you booted off of Twitch. If you start attacking people on Twitter, that can come back to you and cause you trouble on Twitch. They've made changes to guidelines quite recently at the point of filming that prevent people from having sort of a get out of jail free card by pushing it onto another platform. It now matters if you do things on another platform, and those rules aren't there to turn Twitch into a police state. If you have a disagreement with someone on Twitter and you just have some heated words back and forth, Twitch aren't interested in policing that. However, if you're being abusive, if you're directing hate towards people, as in you're trying to encourage other people to direct hate towards that person, if you're trying to bully people specifically, if you're trying to insult them based upon their gender, their sexuality, their race, their identity, whatever it is, those are things that will really come into account, and those are things you need to be super mindful of if you're going to be a Twitch streamer. Honestly, I don't think you really should have to be mindful of them as a Twitch streamer, because those are things that you, if you are a decent human being, you shouldn't be doing in the first place. But understand that your words can be misconstrued, and it's always worthwhile being clear and being able to clarify what you were saying in what context, and making sure that you're not being taken the wrong way, not just from a Twitch perspective and falling foul of Twitch TOS, but also from the perspective of anyone can be watching that, anyone can see that content, and if they take it the wrong way, it could lead to you being taken the wrong way in general. So those are a few do's and don'ts. There's obviously a lot more to list, but those are the ones that really stick out to me as things that you should really be taking a look for and being quite careful around. So this activity is based around Twitch TOS. So it's a bit of a quiz on some of the more common things that you're likely to encounter across Twitch TOS, and it's very important because not following Twitch TOS can get you suspended, banned, not considered for affiliateship or partnership further down the line, or it could apply restrictions upon your account. And the rules do change from time to time. Normally Twitch are very good at communicating this out, but you do need to keep aware of those changes, so make sure that you're checking social media from Twitch. They'll usually email out any major changes as well, and you need to understand kind of the nuance of the rules as well. So the rules aren't always absolutely black and white. There's always a little bit of a grey area that's open to interpretation, and it's about kind of taking the rules in the spirit that they're intended and in the way that they're intended to provide the protections that they're supposed to be providing, but you also need to make sure that you're not falling foul of them in any way, shape or form. So if you download the attached PDF, it will have a short quiz on there for you to complete. Make sure that you have a full understanding of the TOS, and there'll be a link there for you to actually take a look through them properly. And hopefully you get some top marks on there to make sure that you're staying well above the law. So memes on Twitch, I don't think it's unfair to say that memes almost run Twitch in a way. All the shared sort of in-jokes that we have and the little jokes between us and across the entire platform as well, really. It's something that's really rife on Twitch and something that it really does help to understand, at least to some degree. So you've got things like the emotes, for example, and more or less every single one of those is an in-joke somewhere along the line. So you've got something like Kappa, which is usually used to denote like sarcasm in some sort of way, and it's a bit of a troll comment. It's actually like the face of an intern that they had many, many years ago at Twitch, and it's just become this thing where it's always used for like sarcasm. You've got like Craigasm, where it's like something that you really enjoy because it's a bit of a sort of like sort of face, you know. PogChamp, for when like moments are like really amazing and really hype and whatever else, and it's like an oh my god moment. Debated, which is like when someone's been baited into doing something and then have fallen for it. You would normally use debated to signify that. Bible thump, when something's quite sad or possibly upsetting. People use Bible thump quite a lot. You've got stuff as well with Better Twitch TV, which is an extension that you can download to kind of improve your Twitch experience a little bit. There's additional emotes on there that are also quite commonly used. So something like Feels Bad Man, which is the Pepe meme, which is, you know, oh, it feels bad. Or Monka S, which is kind of like a sort of sweat drop moment, where it's kind of you're a bit scared and you're a little bit sort of almost stressed by it at the same time. What Face, which again is kind of like a what? Like kind of a bit gross, possibly, kind of a bit weird and a bit too much. So there's so many of them, and the best thing that I can really recommend is just taking the name of the emote and sticking it into Google, and then adding meaning on after it if you're ever unsure about what one particular one means, because they're always kind of steeped in history and nuance, and there's always some kind of weird history behind it. And then you've also got the side of things where it's like copy pasters, or copy pastas rather, where it's just like these weird dumb things that people say over and over and over and over in Twitch. And I suppose for me the most famous one is the one for the song Brain Power, where everyone sings along and it's just like this random sort of scrambled bunch of letters and whatever else. So if you ever play Brain Power by Noma on your stream, people generally sort of flood the chat with like singing along to the chorus basically, and it's just a really fun and jokey and like messing around moment that you can have on stream. And like I think more or less everyone's done it at least once, and it's just stupidly fun, you know. Or you've got like Sandstorm by Darude, where there's the emote do, which you can post in there, which looks like a little sort of sandstorm cyclone twistery sort of thing, because, you know, the song goes and there's a lot there. Like there are so many different ones that it takes a while to really build up the knowledge. And I do strongly recommend sort of taking the time, especially to go into some of the larger event channels. So the stuff that usually gets pushed onto front page, where there's like thousands and thousands of viewers, you'll see a lot of that crop up throughout the chat there, because, you know, that's where all parts of Twitch kind of come in together and interact with each other, and stuff really takes off and whatever else. Like I could honestly sit here for hours trying to go through all of the ones that exist, and still won't even come close to scratching the surface of just how many there are. It's kind of insane. For example, like GDQ, which is Games Done Quick, which is a speedrunning event. They have like so many there. Like I can still to this day turn to one of my friends and say, "Joel, get on Skype," and me and my friends will just crack up laughing, because it's just a dumb joke that was said once in the chat there, and everyone started copy pasting it and then doing different variants on it. Joel, get on AIM, Joel, get on MSN, and like explaining it like this doesn't sound particularly funny, but with the context of it having been done in the situation that it was and whatever else, it's really genuinely funny, and it's just one of those sort of relived moments from sort of a shared history on Twitch. So at the moment, I can screech the word Brian to my community, because I did a stream around, actually on New Year's, just gone, where it was New Year's, right? So we were having a few drinks and whatever else, I ended up welcoming in the new year by listening to Anton Deck, which are like this really like a cultural thing from the UK, and then reliving like one of the moments from one of their TV shows, and then like mistakenly saying the word Brian instead of barrier when I crash into it in Euro Truck. And now Brian is a meme in my channel, and it means nothing in any other channels, but now people will screech Brian at me for no other reason than it happened in my channel, and that's it. It's just a continual meme. So they're actually great tools for kind of bringing together those shared moments and making people feel like they're on the inside with your community and with your channel. So definitely make sure that you're sort of read up on everything that surrounds them, because they can be really fun and they can really add value to your stream, funnily enough, because of that shared experience and that feeling of belonging. And again, that spreads across Twitch as well. If you feel like you belong on Twitch, you'll feel more invested in it. And if other people understand that you're also invested in the same way as they are, there's an appreciation that people find based off of that. And I know it sounds a little funny to say it like that, but I promise you that is actually the case, and that is kind of how it runs. So yeah, read up, jump into a few event channels, and pull out some of the more common ones that you can see there. If you're not aware of them already, you may well be. But if you're not aware of all of the ones that are on sort of rotation at the moment, make sure to take a look through, and yeah, get yourself read up on them. So this might seem a bit of an odd section to pop this in, but I'd say it falls quite closely in with streaming culture as a whole, and that's the subject of stream teams and how they work and how they pile in together, and how you kind of operate within one if you indeed choose to do so. So there's quite a lot of different types of stream teams. So you either have your super close-knit, really tightly working together stream teams where there's a few members, maybe 10, 15 at most, and they work very tightly together and raid into each other constantly and create similar types of content, perhaps do the same promotional content together. Try to really support each other directly as much as humanly possible, and sort of hang around and share their communities back and forth. And they're really positive environments to be involved in. But that presumes that they work in a good way, that they are actually genuinely trying to do those things and genuinely helping each other out, rather than someone trying to pull all of that viewership and all of that influence for themselves, which has been known to happen from time to time. And then you've also got what I would say is a much looser stream team, where it's just a collective of people with similar content, and maybe there's like sort of 50 people in there or so, and they just create content in the same sort of space. And they may, choose to raid back and forth between odd people on occasion. They may share some of their community. There may be some overlap there just due to the fact that they make similar content, and they occasionally send traffic back and forth. And again, they provide good value, because there is still that level of support there without it being sort of reliant upon you to really partake and perhaps not network outside of that sphere of influence so heavily. Again, it depends on whether it suits you to operate in one or two of those fashions. And then you have the even larger stream teams, so the ones that are just almost open to anyone to enter. And those are they're minimally helpful. They're just kind of a banner to stream under. So you kind of have some like presumed equivalence with other members on the team, which might not necessarily be true, but it's the way that it's effectively perceived. And the benefits from them are quite small. Sometimes they're played up to act as if they do provide more benefit than they actually do. So do be cautious and do check into them and ensure that what they're actually offering is what they are offering, and what they're actually likely to deliver upon, which is always a sticking point, I feel. Now, the general benefits of being in a stream team are mostly cosmetic. You get like a little link at the bottom of your page, just underneath the video next to what game you're playing, and that will send you across to the rest of the stream team as like a sort of portal of everyone on that team, and it might indeed send you a bit of extra traffic. It might not do. Not a lot of people use that as a way to find new streamers to check out, so you know, the benefits of that are a little bit dubious, but it won't hurt, but it might help, and that's probably the best way to look at it. One of the ways that it very well might help, though, is auto-hosting. So auto-hosts operate under the understanding of, if you flick a switch under your settings in channel and video, it will actually let you automatically host people from your stream team that are live at that point in time when you're offline. And it will just automatically flick through them. As they go offline, it will pick someone else to start streaming, and that's just kind of the understanding it works under. Now, most people do have that turned on, so you may find that you get a big bump in auto hosts once you've joined a stream team. Obviously, depending on the size of the team itself, you know, obviously smaller teams, it's going to be less often that you would receive that sort of benefit. Now, again, those are quite passive. It's not really driving traffic with a recommendation. So without the recommendation, the traffic being driven is a little minimal. But again, it can provide some decent benefits there as well. I actually run a stream team myself that operates in that very open and loose fashion. There's a hell of a lot of people on there. So, you know, on a short stream, you can pick up as many as 30, 40, 50 plus auto hosts coming through. Now, they won't necessarily provide the traffic per se, but it's just kind of adding to that awareness of your stream and providing more potential chance of people coming by, which is something I spoke about in an earlier section. Twitch is all about playing the numbers. It's about improving your element of luck and improving the way that your chances are on the platform and potential of people actually coming into your channel. So it can work in that way. Again, I wouldn't recommend it as like a solution to your problems if you have problems with viewership, but it's something that can help and can improve the percentages. So ultimately, don't join a stream team blindly. Do a little research into them before you consider linking up with them. Don't just join the first one that comes available to you. If someone comes to you with a stream team, odds are there's a bit of an ulterior motive there, and you know, it's quite unlikely that it will be directly beneficial to you, but it may be beneficial to them. Just exercise caution, and you know, double check and fact check all of their claims with what they're willing to provide and what you'd be providing to them, as a lot of people get caught out by again, something I mentioned before, like pyramid scheme style arrangements where a lot of people put in a lot of effort to try and raise the prestige and raise the awareness of the stream team, but it's only the people at the top that are skimming the cream off for themselves. So do be aware of that. But if you can find a stream team that can suit you, definitely go for it. Definitely get involved and find some new people to network with and to build some fantastic bonds with. And you should see your viewership bump just from that extra ability to network with those people. So let's cover around a few of the extra parts of Twitch that you might not necessarily be aware of. There are other sections on Twitch other than the gaming side that you may not have encountered. So they're made up of, the main ones at least anyway, of IRL, which is in real life, the shortened term for in real life, and that's basically where you can go for anything that's not directly gaming. It's talking about stuff that you are doing, that you have done. It's talking about your life, your experiences, and bits and pieces like that. And it's a slice of real life. So maybe you're going out and meeting some people and having a conversation around different bits and pieces. There's a lot of different things that you can do that will cover under that IRL umbrella for you, which is pretty neat. Gives you an option and an outlet for you to kind of talk about things that are happening outside of the stream directly, if you are a primarily gaming stream. And it also kind of pairs a little bit with the creative side. So the creative section used to be quite prominent. It was introduced mostly with the Bob Ross streams, which are still live now on twitch.tv/Bob Ross, where he does like loads of painting. If you're not aware of what Bob Ross does, I mean, I'd hope that you are by now. So those creative streams, they have started to filter across into the IRL section a little bit more because the IRL section is more popular. But you'll find all sorts of fantastic content there, like general art. Whether that's painting, drawing, graphical work, stuff like that. You find a lot of cookery streams. There's a fantastic glass blower that I watch over in that section, which is like really, really cool. Something I never expected to see on Twitch. Like stuff with perler beads, blacksmithing. There's actually some blacksmiths on Twitch, which is kind of insane. There's loads of really, really cool bits and pieces like that on there. So if that's a skill that you have, I wish I did, honestly. I'm not creatively skilled in any way, shape or form, unfortunately. But you can bring that to Twitch as well and use that as a way of pushing that content as well. If that's something that you make and you make stuff to sell or whatever else, you can actually use that as almost like a marketing platform to show off the stuff that you are making and then putting them up for sale wherever else. And you can even get people to commission you directly from that section to say, hey, I want you to make X, Y, and Z for this price, or you can set the prices yourself. Fantastic way of pulling in some extra sort of marketing side of stuff, as well as providing content for your Twitch channel. You've also got a music creation in there as well. The 8-Bit Drummer, absolutely fantastic dude. He gets like songs sent to him, and then he'll drum along to them, completely freestyle. Most of the time he's never heard of the tracks before. Really, really, really cool stuff. Definitely worth checking out on that score as well. You've also got talk shows as well. So if you're going to do, say, like a podcast, or you're going to do like a commentary to go along with something, you can use that as an outlet there. I personally run a podcast through that, and it's a pretty cool section to have a quick flick through as well to see if there's anyone running a podcast of something that you would find deeply interesting. And then beyond that as well, you've got like really specific genres. So, like for example, there's a wrestling subgenre where people actually live stream wrestling stuff now. Now, obviously, you need to make sure that you have the relevant licensing and whatever else. So they're mostly like real sections of the wrestling culture that are running their own venues and whatever else. But you can find like live streamed wrestling on there, or live streamed anime. But again, like, don't step into doing that yourself unless you have the relevant licensing to do so. That's not something that you would be able to do under Twitch TOS unless you physically own the rights to broadcast that content to an audience, which for the most part you're not likely to do. But there's a lot of other subgenres around on Twitch that you can find, and they're all pretty cool. There's a lot of different bits and pieces that you would find on Twitch you would never expect to see there, and there's a lot of niches that are still yet to be filled. There's a lot of places that you may eventually find a home within that you never expected to at any point in time, and there's something really, really cool about that. So make sure to take a look through the directory on Twitch and see if there's anything on there, any categories on there that you might be able to find some extra content for, and diversify your stream into providing more than you already are or already looking to do. Again, like creative IRL streams actually perform very well at the moment. So if that's an avenue that you can look down and it's something that you're truly passionate about, I highly recommend looking down that route and seeing if you can really add some extra spice to the way that you run things through. So let's talk about a slightly uncomfortable subject, the element of luck. Now, it's not something that everyone really wants to hear, and it might be a little disheartening to see it have a section on a course like this, but nothing is guaranteed in streaming. Your viewership, your followership, hosts, raids, the friends you'll make, the sponsorships you'll gain, nothing is guaranteed. Following every single step on this course doesn't guarantee anything. What it does do is it raises your chances of success, and it alters the percentage chance of things happening. So this is all controlled through positive and negative actions, right? So if I have a really positive interaction with someone, a streamer that's larger than I am, let's say, if I have a really positive interaction with them, I go in their chat and I chat with them a bunch, and I tweet at them on Twitter, and I mess around and make jokes with them, whatever else. The chance of that streamer being invested in what I do, and the chance of that streamer hosting me, or raiding me, or talking about me, or tweeting or retweeting one of my tweets goes up. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that they're ever going to stop in my stream, ever. They may never drop into my stream for a myriad of different reasons. But the chance is raised. And it's raised and raised and raised and raised and raised by each positive action that I do. And that's the way you really need to look at everything that you do on Twitch. Absolutely everything that you do on Twitch. Because if you're working on the understanding that it guarantees you something, you are perceived as someone that is demanding and that really expects things to be given to them because they do certain things. And that's not how the industry works at all. You can't control your viewers. Like, you can't go into their head or go into their home and make them click on your stream and make them chat and make them donate and make them sub. You can't do that. They're their own human. They're their own person. They've got their own choices, their own life experiences. Everything that makes up that individual person is something that you have no control over. Now, what you can do is you can create experiences for that person that changes their view, that colours their perception of the content you make, the way that they're willing to interact with that content, the way that they're willing to support that content as well. That is something that you can control, but again, it's all percentage chance. It's all things that you do to improve your lot, to improve your chance. And that's something that you really need to stick in mind. And the way that I try and think about it is in the same way as movies work. So you can have a movie that's got the hugest budget and the best people working on it and the best backing of a franchise and some of the best actors in the game, and it can still be a massive flop at the box office because their percentage chance of success is very high because of all of the elements that they've pulled together that work together really well. But sometimes it's just not on the cards. A good example is if we go back about 15, well, for over 15 years now actually, Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, right? So that's based on a franchise, the Final Fantasy franchise, which by 2001 I believe was on to its 10th mainline iteration. I believe Final Fantasy X had come out by that point. Plus they had like side games like Tactics and all these various different things, all building up this empire. They had an anime out as well, I believe, at that point as well. Like, they had so much behind Final Fantasy as a franchise. They had some really good big-ticket actors involved in it. They had some great direction thrown in there as well. They had loads of budget thrown into it. It's still, even to this day, some of the best photorealistic animation that's ever been done in a movie. Ever. It's still some of the best one, but it was an enormous flop. The movies at the box office. It's the reason why Squaresoft, as it once was, became Square Enix, and they combined, because otherwise they were going to go out of business. That's how big of a flop Final Fantasy Spirits Within was. And even though it had all of those fantastic positive elements going for it, it still didn't happen. Now, the really, really useful thing for you as a streamer is you don't have one chance, and you don't have millions and millions and millions of dollars invested into your streams. Well, I would hope so anyway. You may have a few thousand if you've got a really high-end rig or something like that, but probably not millions of dollars. So the really useful thing for you, though, is if it doesn't work on Monday, you can try again on Tuesday, and then try again on Wednesday, and then try something completely different on Thursday, and then try contacting a few different people on Friday, and then go, I'll take the weekend off, it's fine, no worries, we'll try again on Monday. And you can try again and again and again and again and again and again, and try different formulas, and try different routes to the same goal, and try angling in different directions. There's so many different things that you can do to change that percentage chance, to improve that percentage chance, that you can try again and again and again and again and again, and not have to worry too heavily about one individual event not quite taking off in the way that you had hoped and the way that you'd expected. So just remember to really keep all of the best practices that we've been passing across, the scheduling, the marketing, the availability, the networking, the growth, all of the extensions, the way that you've set up your stream, your bots, your streaming software, your layouts, the other stuff that we're going to cover later on in this series of lectures. Make sure you've got all of those in place, because those are all improving that percentage chance. They're all raising that percentage chance. But ultimately, it might not happen for you tomorrow, but a day after that gives you a completely fresh chance to just try it all over again in a different way, or even in the same way, and hoping that the conditions have changed a little bit and those percentage chances really start coming in and you start winning the jackpot as far as viewership, support, and turning this into a full-time gig for you goes. So sponsorships can be a fantastic way of actually bringing a little bit more income or prestige, or even just some physical items to your stream that may improve the quality of your stream. Now, mostly they're going to be a bit later down the line, so once you've gotten yourself a decent level of viewership and followership, that's when you're going to start qualifying for a lot of these different sponsorship programs. Now, the first thing that I would say is keep a careful lookout for any of the sponsorships that allow anyone on board, like literally anyone, because mostly those ones are going to be either very poor quality offerings or a little bit underhanded and a little bit shifty. There are some fantastic options out there, like Humble Bundle, for example. They offer sponsorship to a lot of people to give you like a referral link to go through, which can help you earn a little bit of additional income. But there are a lot of them that are a little bit questionable, and it's well worth researching the company that you're going to be linking up with before putting your name to it, because after all, it is your reputation partially on the line. So, for example, with things like G2A, they were offering sponsorships to anyone and everyone, and they've been revealed to be really shady, really underhanded, doing some dodgy stuff as far as affecting profitability for various game developers and stealing game keys and all sorts of nasty business. So be very, very careful with the way that you operate there, and think about different ways that you can work together as opposed to just simply taking their product and reviewing it, or putting a link to them in your bio and whatever else. Think about really special opportunities that you can create. Perhaps it'll be a challenge of some kind for you to do something in relation to their product, or you're going to give some to a few of your followers in order for them to also try it out, and everyone can report back, and it's almost like a small case study of their product or whatever else. Or perhaps you're going to try and learn to speedrun this game, or keep up with everything that they release and speedrun everything that they're going to put out over a period of time or whatever else. And along with that, you should probably be considering what you can offer that other people can't when you're making your initial offers towards these sponsorship companies. What's your unique edge? Because whilst numbers are fantastic, there's always someone with bigger numbers than you, or almost always, right? So make sure that you're providing a unique edge. Maybe you have a super close-knit community that really trusts you because you're so transparent with the way that you operate on stream and the products that you use and whatever else. Maybe your community have specific needs that other communities don't have. Maybe they're really tech savvy, for example. Like your stream is based around a lot of like good tech, like new and emergent tech. So you're going to be able to offer a unique set of impressions of how this particular item would affect those individuals, for example. And as with everything, remember again that the people handling sponsorships are people. They're not just a nameless faceless company representation. They are still people at the end of the day. So make sure that when you're talking to these people, you're treating them as such. You're not talking to a company. You're talking to a person. So while they do need to represent the interests of their company, make sure that you're a little light-hearted with them. You're bringing across your personality as well, because that's something that they're buying into when they're agreeing to sponsor you with, right? So one thing that I always say is like, oh, well, I'll owe you a drink at the next meetup if we go ahead with this, or something to that effect, which goes over really well, and it's cost me a couple of points along the line, but it's just a friendly little way of chatting around with people that really hits home, and it's something that not everyone does, and it makes a real big difference in the long term. Of course, with every sponsorship that you do pursue, make sure you find the right person to talk to. Make sure you find the person that handles either like influencer relations, content creator relations, the PR, something like that. It depends from company to company, but those are the people that you generally want to be targeting. So make sure you try and search out the correct contact there. And even with companies that don't traditionally do this form of marketing, there's always potential to make something unique with that company. So a good example is there's a company called Vocal Zone. Now they make these sort of pastel things that you suck on, and they like clear your throat. So obviously when you stream, you do a lot of talking, and your throat gets kind of messed up and whatever else. So a streamer called Trevelyan he did a sort of outreach to that company to say, hey, I use your product for my streaming, so maybe we can do like a crossover promotion. You send me some of your product, I promote your product on my channel, whatever else, and that actually took off, and that went pretty well. Previously, they'd only dealt with like singers and voice actors and stuff like that, and now they actually have started moving into doing some promotional stuff with streamers because they realise that that's another segment of their market they didn't even know existed. And you know, he was like a forerunner of bringing that across onto Twitch, which is a fantastic thing to be able to say on your sort of professional resume. And it creates a unique opportunity for yourself as a streamer as well, because no one else has this product to be able to sell it in such a way, or promote it in such a way, or get the rewards from it in such a way. So there's always options to look at to go down a different route, and it's down to you really to find them. Now, when dealing with the people that are going to be working with you for sponsorships, make sure to not lie. There's a number of tools out there, stuff like Social Blade, for example, which is super accessible to anyone, where they can check up to see if you are lying or not. They can see readily what your followership is, what your average viewership is like. Are you growing? Are you shrinking? Like, there's a lot of data that they can pull from that at a glance, let alone if they try to start digging deeper. So make sure that whilst you're selling yourself, you're selling the benefits of doing stuff with you and working with you, but at the same time you're not explicitly lying about it. You're not overinflating your numbers. You're not making out that you're a bigger deal than you are, because that lack of honesty may cost you the deal overall. It may be that they're only looking for people with, say, 5,000 followers, right? And you've only got 1,000 followers, but you've sent like this really, really enthusiastic and convincing letter in there about how much you love their product and how in love with it your viewers are, but you've lied and said that you've got more viewership than you actually have. If they see that you've been lying about that, they might turn you down, even when, if you hadn't, they might have considered you for that sponsorship deal anyway. So make sure to keep, you know, reasonably honest with everything you do, and people will respect that. It's far too easy for people to double check numbers and stuff like that. So you know, keep yourself honest, keep yourself open to ideas, and make sure you keep checking everything in relation to the sponsorship to make sure that you're not getting a raw deal, and to make sure that you're not going to get yourself involved with something that might not be the best for yourself or your community. So monetizing your stream is something that can be a little bit tricky. Asking people to start throwing money at you is definitely an extra step, I guess, in the process. And it can be done relatively easily, but it's prodding people and sort of almost reminding people that that's an option. That's the tricky part. So one of the things that I would really impress upon you is never demand anything, never push people strongly into doing it, because that will just push people away from getting involved in it in any way, shape or form, because no one wants to be forced to do anything, right? I mean, it just feels a little bit unnatural to do so. So always make sure that it's there as an option, and it's something that you direct people towards, but it's not something that you sort of say, hey, you need to be sending some money in right now, oh, we have to meet this goal, we have to do this, we have to do that, because that's just really unattractive, and it will turn people off not only from doing so, but possibly from even visiting your stream at all. And there's a few options towards doing so. Obviously, you've got things like direct donation links to your channel, which you can get through the variety of different alert providers, stuff like Streamlabs. You can just put a donate button on your profile, and they'll have an option to donate straight through there. There's a number of elements as well that you can put on stream to make it sort of more an attractive proposition, like donation goals and alerts for people doing so. There are some other options as well, though. If you're not at affiliate level yet, which would give you the ability to receive some subs on your channel, you can actually use a system called GameWisp, which provides people with, again, the ability to subscribe to you in a way that can provide them with additional perks that you set for various different pricing levels. It's well worth taking a look into. GameWisp were very, very successful before the affiliate program came out, and they still continue to have some success even afterwards. So there's a great system there. You can have custom sound effects go off. You can have a specific bot that works with GameWisp put into your channel. So there's a bunch of different options there, and it's definitely worth taking a look at that, because the continual income from a subscriber is a nice sort of guaranteed income that helps you make more financial decisions further down the line a lot more easily. Because while they're not completely guaranteed, they're a lot more guaranteed than one-off donations, because someone would have to go and physically cancel that subscription as opposed to making the choice to donate on every single occasion. You've also got something like Patreon as well, which works in a fairly similar way. You've got more of a landing page for Patreon that gives you all of the perks and whatever else you can provide to your users, and it's certainly worth putting in some thought to see what perks you think are going to really suit your audience and make them feel like they're being truly valued. It's not for everyone. There are always fees involved as well, so you will never receive the full amount of donation that you get received. But it's, again, another method of continual income as opposed to individual donations, which, again, can be a little bit hit and miss. They can disappear here and there. You know, not every time someone wants to donate a specific amount of money, but if that subscription's already set up, people are less likely to go and turn that off. And most importantly, just be open and transparent about where that money's going, because I've seen a lot of occasions where people will have a donation goal, whatever, say for $1,000, right? And then they'll order like pizza for 10 days straight. And the people that have donated towards those people kind of feel a little bit deflated. They feel like their money's gone to waste if that money was intended to go towards a new PC rig, for example. And it feels a little bit like you've been cheated out of your money, right? It would be the same way as if, I don't know, I donated to a charity of some description that was supposed to help children, and then I find out that that charity is then going and having dinner parties with the money that I've donated. It feels a little bit iffy, right? Even though those parties might have been integral to the success of that charity, and because I didn't know that that was going to occur, and it feels like it's a little bit frivolous and unnecessary, it kind of chafes a little bit, and it does make you feel a little bit like you've been cheated out of the value of the money that you've put across. So if you have a donation goal, make sure that you've set aside the money that goes towards that donation goal and actually spend it on the thing that you've said that it was going to be spent on. Otherwise you'll find that people are less trusting that you're going to do what you say that you do, and less likely to actually donate in the future as well, or, you know, subscribe or whatever it is that they were going to do to monetize your stream. But again, make sure that these are all options. They're not a mandatory thing. You can provide perks for them, like extra channels in a Discord, or special sub letters, or a special video, or whatever it is you want to provide for them. But make sure that they're offered as perks. I would never recommend, especially when you're still starting out, taking away anything from your stream in order to give that away as a perk. That it will get the same sort of reaction as, you know, when like games developers take something out of a game to later sell it as DLC. It's a similar kind of feeling that you create by doing so. Like, people generally don't like that too much. And yeah, just make sure that people know where it's going, and you just gently remind them that it's an option. Oh, hey guys, just so you know, we are working towards getting myself a new PC rig. I know it's a lot of money, it's $1,200, but if we can really hit that, it's really going to bring up the quality of the stream, and it's going to allow me to play a lot more games, and I'm sure we're all going to be a lot more happy about that. So if you do have any money that you can spare, I'd really appreciate your support at this point in time. Something like that, so you're expressing the fact that it's quite important to you, and it's something that you do kind of require, but you're not saying, hey, donate to this, otherwise the stream's not going to happen anymore. And don't hold your community to ransom. As much as it may be really pressing to you to receive that money, it's not as pressing to them to do so, and being forced into it will always put someone off. So there you go. So this section here is about building your community. So it's probably the most important part of the entire Twitch experience. It's all well and good you turning up and live streaming some content. It's all well and good putting out a few tweets here and there, but unless you've got a good solid community and it's being built up decently, it's not going to go anywhere. You're not going to progress, you're not going to grow. You need to have your community deeply bedded in. So we're going to take a look at the importance of creating one, and some of the fantastic tools that you can use to really help garner it. So having a good rule set put into place, so ensuring that people aren't stepping outside the bounds of what you would accept within your stream, and then obviously giving your mods a tool to be able to know where the line in the sand is, so they've actually got the ability to judge effectively in the same way that you would, and how to choose those mods as well, right? Because you want to know you've got the right person for the job. How to kind of add into the alerts that you would have running for your stream and to your bots and different bits and pieces like that. How to build those into your community spirit. How to use Discord as a really effective tool to take the community that you're building on Twitch and give it a home somewhere off of the platform. And also how to really squash those trolls that come in through the door, because let's be honest, it's really hard to get around having them turn up on occasion. And we'll also complete an activity where we set out the rules that you're going to be putting into place, and making sure that they're going to be adhered to, making sure they're going to be policed properly and whatever else. And there'll be a PDF to follow that will have that all attached to it for you to be able to fill them out and make sure you've got them in place nice and early. So let's get started with Discord. Discord is probably my favourite tool for really retaining and building that community once you're away from the Twitch platform, because it's very hard to maintain a community where it's got set opening hours, right? So Discord is a fantastic platform that you can use off-site. It's similar to if you've ever used TeamSpeak or Mumble or Vent or anything like that. It works in a fairly similar fashion to that. However, It has some enhanced tools, it has enhanced quality, it's entirely free to use as well, which some other services are not. And it's hugely supportive of the gaming community and industry, so you've got different tools built within it to show what game you're playing at the moment, to find groups for games that you're playing. There's even a streamer mode, so it hides any sensitive information whilst you're streaming. There's a hell of a lot of different options in there to really kind of build it across and to make it suit the needs of streamers and gamers alike. It's pretty easy to set up as well. You literally just make a server and you can create it in any fashion you want. Make as many channels as you want, as many voice channels as you want. Set specific roles up so certain people can access certain levels. So, for example, if you had like a mod channel for you and your mods to converse in as away from your general viewers and followers and so forth, you can do so, and that will be entirely private, and anything discussed there won't be seen by anyone else on the server, which is super useful. So some of the good uses that you can use for the server would be stuff like collecting clips together from your channel. So some really good moments that you've had, and that would be fantastic for perhaps creating a clip compilation later down the line. You've got everything all stored together in one place, and people will see those clips and have a look through a few of them and see what you're about a little bit more if they're new to the community. They'll be able to join in some of the in-jokes that are already well established within your community. It's really useful to have that there, you know. You can also post, obviously, notifications to say that you're going live, so people who don't necessarily use Twitter or Facebook or Snapchat, Instagram, or whatever social media service it is, they've got an additional method of finding out when you're going live. And it's a slightly more instantaneous method than, say, the emails that are sent out by Twitch when you go live as well. So again, yeah, just another way to prod people towards your channel, and you want to use as many methods as possible in order to do so. You can also provide a bit of extra value, I guess, as well, by providing a place for your followers to say, hey, I'm going live right now. Because then that gives them a reason to dip into your channel when they're doing stuff. Or dip into your server, rather, on Discord. And they can share their content, you can see what content they're doing, you can network with them, they can network with you, you can see the value proposition that provides. It's very important, though, to keep the conversation flowing on Discord, though. Just pop in with a couple of questions and bits and pieces here and there. Oh, how are you guys doing today? If you had to be one colour for the rest of your life, or just wear one colour on your shirt for the rest of your life, what colour would it be? Just really dumb little bits of conversation like that. Because nothing is more off-putting than being a new joiner to the Discord and going, oh, well, it's absolutely dead in here, like, there's no one talking, why am I here, you know? So I always find it's good to try and keep pushing the conversation forward with just little bits and pieces. Hey, have you seen this bit of gaming news recently? Much in the same way as you would on stream, but obviously less pressure to keep doing it ongoing. But you need to provide people with a reason to keep coming to your server rather than hanging out in someone else's, because me personally, I think I'm in at least 80 plus servers, quite possibly more. I've bumped my head on the 100 server cap a few times. So for me to come into your server out of one of the other 80 that I'm already in, I need to have a compelling reason to do so, right? So unless you're providing that reason, I'm probably just going to shuffle your server to the bottom of my list and not look into it very often at all. And if you keep developing your server and making it more popular and getting more people in there and making it more active, you can apply for partnership with Discord as well, which gets you stuff like, obviously, the keen-eyed amongst you may have noticed I've been wearing a Discord hoodie this entire time. So this is a really nice promotional hoodie. It's got a Discord partner on the back and whatever else, and they're very recognisable. So if you go to events or whatever else, or even walking around out and about, I've been asked about this hoodie a few times. It gives you a chance to network with some new people. It also gives you better audio quality options. While the audio quality is very good on Discord already, there's an option to boost it even further once you've reached partnership. You also get a vanity URL, so instead of it being discord.gg/ blah 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 random keyboard spam, you can have it as your brand name. So, you know, discord.gg / level up dojo, for example. That would be a much easier way to keep your brand consistent. You can also provide a splash screen for when people are joining your server as well, which just looks nice. It kind of keeps everything on brand, everything in place, and that's something that's quite hard to establish as well. But Discord is a wonderful tool. I've used it for a good couple of years now, and I'm in, as I say, countless servers, and they continually add fantastic features to it, all designed to support the gaming industry, the gaming community, Twitch streamers, streamers from any platform for that matter, actually. And their team are super lovely as well. If you ever get a chance to get involved with them, if they're ever at an event near you as well, definitely go hang out at their booth. They always have like limited edition swag and whatever else to hand out. But Discord is a fantastic tool for pulling your community together and providing it with a home away from the platform that's truly yours and truly unique and customizable to however you see fit to run your domain. So what would make a decent mod for your channel? Now, it's a difficult subject, honestly, because people are so widely different, right? But mostly people that make a good mod are people that turn up day after day after day, obviously following the rules that you've already set out. That would make a lot of sense, right? But mostly they're people that display a sense of maturity that perhaps some of the other members of your chat don't. So their ability to agree to everything that you're going to be putting through, showing up time after time. That's mostly the time when you want to start considering them for a mod position, not necessarily definitely putting them in at that stage. I would say that you'd only really want to mod people as your need grows. So to start out with, you may only need one or two, and then further down the line, you can start expanding as your viewership grows. You don't want a chat full of like 100 mods and one viewer, because to a new viewer that actually looks quite intimidating, because instead of the mod standing out for the fact that they're a mod, they stand out as the one person that's not already part of that inner circle, which is a little bit rough, and it can definitely scare some people off of hanging around in your chat. I've seen it happen quite a few times before. So you want them to enforce your rules, obviously, as you're hopefully already thinking about setting out. For the most part, I recommend implementing like a free strike rule. So for stuff that's not super serious, it's just kind of annoying, it shouldn't really be there in the chat, but it's not like hugely offensive. You can typically just purge them to start off with, which is just a 1 second timeout, and then maybe extend that to like a 10-minute timeout if they carry on, before eventually resorting to a ban. That usually works quite well, and usually the initial purge is just enough. There are some additional tools that are provided by Better Twitch TV, which is an extension I mentioned downloading a little while back. There's some extra moderation tools that are included with that can make purging and timing out a little bit easier. But that's usually the rule. Obviously, there's circumstances that are not necessarily worthwhile using the free strike rule with. You might want to just straight up ban people if they're coming in posting malicious links or heavily racist content, or really bigoted views or something like that. Then odds are you'll probably just want to get rid of those people straight away. And it does make a lot of sense to get rid of those people sooner rather than later, because obviously that creates an impression of what your chat is like, and what your community is like, which doesn't necessarily link up to how it actually is. So clearing them out sooner rather than later is very important. But your mod should be well equipped to be able to deal with all of those things. Make sure they're educated on how you would like your chat to be run. Otherwise, they're not exactly going to be the most useful people to have around if they're not knowing exactly how you want things to be run. But yeah, that's about it really. Like, just make sure that you're not afraid to call them up if they're making a few mistakes here and there and try to set them straight. I very much recommend having a separate area where you can discuss things with them as a team. So again, like we were talking about previously with Discord, setting up a separate section for your Discord for just mod chat. Very helpful if they're talking about, I don't know, a member that they're keeping an eye on or something like that. Very, very useful to have that available there. And yeah, just, use a little bit of sense and think carefully before selecting someone for a mod position, because taking it away again can actually stop that person from coming back to your channel potentially. So make sure you only give them mod if it's both needed and they are truly acceptable and worthwhile putting into that position. So one of the things you can do to really add some value into your community and to try and tie everything nicely together is to take advantage of the memes, the alerts, the emotes, the bots, everything that we've spoken about before, and tie them into your community. So for example, for your alerts, let's say for your follow alert, you've got an in-joke in your community, tie that into the GIF that comes up for the follow alert, or maybe the sound effect that plays, or something similar like that. Maybe you play a lot of horror games, so you have a jump scare alert to make you jump every time someone follows or donates or something similar to that. Just try to keep it all thematic, and that's something that your community should actually appreciate down the line. Or maybe like a bot command or something like that, where people can set off a noise, or just get some copy paster jokes or something like that. That again are tied into your community, an in-joke thematically, whatever it is that it actually does for you. They're all tools that you can use to just tie everything in together. Maybe an emote, for example, based around an experience that's occurred in your stream, or again, something around the theme of your stream. And you can refer back to the guides that we've already spoken about. So back in section 5 we talk about bots, back in section 4 we're talking about the alerts, or back in 8 I'm talking about the memes and the emotes. So think about all of those different elements and how you can weave them together to really represent your community best, and to provide that extra value, that extra in-joke, that extra sort of nudge in the ribs and nod wink wink sort of style thing, because that's how communities are built, really. They're just built, especially on Twitch, just on a platform of in-jokes and sly winks, which sounds a little bit weird, but like, it's how friendship groups work, right? So that you guys all have your shared jokes between each other, your shared experiences, your shared memories, the things that you've done together, and those little reminders. Oh, remember that time when we did this, or remember the time when we went to the beach and did that, or whatever else. Like, those are the same sort of relationships and memories and things that you should really try and retain on your channel, in order to actually build that sense of belonging, build that sense of friendship even between yourself and your viewership. And you'll really notice people respond to that very well. and you've got so many tools, as we've shown you, at your disposal to be able to do that. So take advantage of all of them, make them all interlink in as many ways that you possibly can, to really put across just that community spirit and those real in-jokes. So it's all well and good knowing that rules need to be there and they're not there to be broken and whatever else, but it's more important to know what rules that you should have, right? So some of the basics should be quite obvious, and they should be things that you've seen elsewhere as well. And that's against spamming. Spamming's never good fun unless, again, it's in context with some kind of copy paste a meme that you're encouraging, in which case it's kind of okay for that short period and no further really. Insulting other members or insulting other casters as well, because I find that brings unnecessary drama to your channel. So like leaving drama in the channels where it started and stuff like that. That's generally a good line to follow for a set of rules as well, because it's just not a pleasant thing to have going on. You may consider having links not allowed in your chat, or you may consider only allowing them for subs, because that infers that they're a little bit more trustworthy, because they've spent some money in order to get their sub put into place. They wouldn't necessarily want to have wasted that money, so presumably they can be trusted to post non-malicious links that don't need to be as closely checked. Some people just want to allow links all the time. I do. I don't really mind. I always feel like they can be moderated and filtered out as you go along, but for bigger chats and channels pulling thousands and thousands and thousands of people, then yeah, maybe you've got the need to have no links at all. If you're in a smaller channel, you probably might just want to leave them on because it gives you more conversation pieces, but it's entirely down to you where you want to sit with that, and I think you should probably make that decision yourself to what you feel is most comfortable and what kind of mod coverage you have to be able to check those links. As well, you probably want to put in a rule about promotion. So people promoting themselves within your channel, because while it's a general faux pas and it's a thing that you shouldn't be doing across Twitch, because it's generally pretty distasteful and no one really engages with it and it's just plain rude, honestly. But quite often people need the obvious pointed out to them as far as that's concerned, so it usually makes good sense to put that into your rule set as well, to say, look, just don't do it. The same way as like promoting other streamers that are live doing this as well, or live at that time, because again I find that quite rude. Whilst they're not promoting themselves, they're still going, oh, I see that you're playing this game and you're doing something, you're trying hard to be entertaining with this game and whatever else, but you should totally watch this other person instead. And it just feels deflating, and it's just rude, and it's just unnecessary, and it's a little bit thoughtless, I think, but mostly it's unnecessary, and I think keeping that out of your chat is a pretty good idea. You may have different opinions around this, but backseating as well, so people trying to tell you what to do next or where to go next, or hey, you missed this thing and that thing and whatever else while you're trying to play a game. People have a lot of different stances on it. Me personally, I don't want to be told what I should be doing because I'm trying to do it as we speak. Unless I specifically ask, like, hey guys, I'm completely lost, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing right now, do I need to go over to this place? I don't know, like, tell me. And then if you make it explicitly clear that you're accepting tips and hints and directions to go in and whatever else, then at that stage they're allowed to do so, but before then it's just not allowed. But some people do encourage a bit of backseating. Some people allow you to say, hey, this is look, you need to go back and get this, because if you don't get it now, you'll never be able to get it for the rest of your playthrough. And you can kind of see the logic that's applied to that. You don't want to miss out on any part of the experience of a game. But again, it's personal taste with that one. But I do highly encourage having some kind of backseating rule in there. Otherwise, your chat, especially for like certain games, like stuff like Dark Souls, tends to happen quite heavily with. If you're streaming like Undertale or something like that, that's a very sort of spoiler heavy game. So, you know, it's worth having some rules in place for when you do play those titles that have the risk of either being spoiled or people just getting really, really aggressive with their backseating and really trying to tell you every step to make and every button to push. So, yeah, decide where you sit on that issue and decide how much help that you're willing to accept and whether you need to ask for that help first and put something in place for that. Yeah, definitely something I'd recommend there. And also make sure that the rules are visible, because it's all well and good having the rules, but unless people are aware of them, they aren't necessarily going to follow them. So always make sure you've got a panel in your bio that's filled up with all of the rules that you have operating in your channel at that particular point in time, so people can refer to them quite easily, or if people are not sure of anything, you can just point them straight to that and they can just take a quick look at them, and you don't have to sit there running through them all on stream, which is just, well, it's always going to be a little bit awkward. So yeah, it would make sense to have them somewhere pretty visible and pretty prominent. Usually towards the top of the page is a good idea as well on that one. But other than that, you know, make sure you sit down with your mods and see if there's any bits and pieces you've missed for your specific set of circumstances, because depending on your type of stream, there may be some like super specific rules that are relevant for your type of stream. Like, let's say for example, you are a speedrunner and you are speedrunning in a race against other people or something like that, and you really don't want to know how well the other person that you're racing against is doing because it would put you off your game, then maybe you would want a specific rule guarding against that in your rules. There's always individual circumstances that, you know, really make a difference on that front. So yeah, make sure that you have a long think about it and complete the activity that's on this section as well, to start setting them out and putting them in place and seeing if you need to regulate them through the bot. A lot of bots have commands, especially for like spam, caps and symbols and excessive use of emotes, links as well. They're very good at filtering out, so it will automate a lot of the difficulty for you. And that can obviously be quite valuable, and you're not really going to have to worry about enforcing the rules, as the rules will automatically be enforced. But yeah, have a good long think about what is pertinent to your particular stream, and the rules should hopefully write themselves from there. So this section is going to be setting out your rules. So what rules you want to have in place on your channel and how you want them to be enforced, whether it's going to be a strike system, whether it's going to be individual cases on a judgment call, whether you're just going to rule with an iron fist and just ban people outright straight away. Like, it's entirely up to you, really. But you need to know how that's going to be enforced. You need to know how many strikes, if any, people will get and make sure that's public information. And also, you need to look into whether you want to automate them with a bot, because potentially some of the weight can be taken off your hands with the modding situation or off the hands of your mods. So think about some of the things that you really want to do, some of the things that you really find important for your rule set. Download the attached PDF and start setting out some rules now so you can put them into place as soon as you're ready to. So it's all well and good, you're getting streaming, you've got a few people lurking around in your chat, but you got to wonder, how are you supposed to be interacting with these people? How are you supposed to be running things through with them? How much effort should you put into keeping them entertained and keeping the conversation flowing? And I think it's incredibly important that when you do have chatters there, you do try to engage them as much as possible, but it might not always be possible. Obviously, you should be greeting them warmly, asking how their day is and all that kind of stuff. Letting them talk about whatever it is they want to talk about for that meanwhile. But then sometimes the conversation starts to run a little bit dry, which is why I always make a point of having an awareness of stuff that's going on, especially in the games industry at that point in time, to know whether there's anything exciting that I can just start talking about, and then people can jump in and start discussing with me and the pros and the cons of each individual situation. Oh, this is a new character that's popped up in Overwatch, and was it going to be a good addition? Is the tweaks to Hanzo going to really make a difference to his character and how he's played, and whether he's going to be more relevant in the meta or whatever else? I don't really have an interest in Overwatch, I'll be honest, it's just not my cup of tea. But it's something that I can discuss with people in chat and keep them engaged and keep them talking in the chat, because the more active your chat is, the more inviting your channel looks to the average person that's going to be dropping in there. So, make a point of just trying to keep a topic of conversation flowing, because the more people that are already chatting, the more people are going to want to chat as well. Now, you should always make sure that people are discussing topics that you're happy to be discussed. Some channels are not keen on politics being discussed in their channel, for example, because those discussions can get quite heated. It's typically a two-sided deal, like a conservative and a more liberal side, so there's usually quite a lot of heat generated when you start talking about politics. The same with some more slightly complex issues, like any of the slightly more taboo subjects on Twitch are a little bit concerning for some people to allow in their chat, so some people like to shy away from it, and there's nothing wrong with doing so, but you just need to make sure that whatever you're comfortable with, you're ensuring that your chat is sticking to. If people start bringing up a conversation about politics, you need to make sure that yourself or a mod is moving that conversation along. The best way of doing so, by the way, is something introduced to me by Spamfish. He still uses it to this day, to be perfectly honest, but you can stop more or less any conversation dead in its tracks by asking the entire chat what their favourite type of cake is. I've been using this for years myself as well, in Twitch chats, in Discord, on any kind of IM group chat sort of scenario. You just ask what people's favourite type of cake is, and people want to tell you what their favourite type of cake is. Mine is a Millionaire's cheesecake, by the way. Google it. Trust me, you'll believe why. But anything you can do to just kind of move it along. It's always best to try and move the conversation along to another subject rather than just timing people out or banning them, because obviously that makes a little bit of a hostile environment, and you want to avoid that if at all possible. And when people are not entirely sure of what subject matter is acceptable, mistakes can happen on that side. And the other part that may create a little bit of pressure for you as a streamer is a lot of people come to Twitch as an escape from reality, as an escape from whatever life situation that they're in at that point in time. And they want to talk about, how crap their day's been, or what they're struggling with at that particular point in time. Maybe they've got issues with their mental health or their living situation or whatever it is. Now, a lot of people shy away from saying no in those situations. You aren't required to be their therapist. There are people that are better equipped and better suited to deal with those kind of situations. If you are willing and able to help them in any way, shape or form through just talking stuff through or whatever it is that you want to do, by all means do so. Obviously on the understanding that you're not an expert and so forth and whatever else. But never feel required to do so. Whilst some people may be going through some difficult times and different patches in their life, it's not your requirement to resolve those problems for them. You're just there to stream, you're there to entertain, you're there to create that escape from that whatever it is that people are going through at that point in time. And it's very, you feel a little guilty for turning them down in that situation, because obviously they're in a bad situation and it's kind of human nature to want to try and help them. But you shouldn't feel bad because it's not acceptable, it's not applicable to that particular situation, it's not appropriate for you to be dealing with that. And it's something that can affect your own mental health and your own ability to perform in the way that you need to do so. I'd strongly recommend perhaps having a list of resources that people are able to use to help themselves through various situations, or point them towards relevant bodies that are able to do so, which can be done through a whisper or DM by a mod, before you move away from the subject and move on to something else. It's something, as I say, a lot of people don't like to do and don't want to be seen to be doing. But if you do need to move away from a subject, don't be afraid to do so. Ultimately, it's your stream, it's your set of experiences, it's your choice what you allow to go on in chat and what you are willing to have in your chat. So, make sure that you're making choices that are right for yourself first and foremost, and then for your community afterwards, because otherwise you're not going to be able to continue on as a streamer if you're under too much pressure or mental strain, and that's going to result in no one being happy. So trolling is, well, it should be a straightforward issue really, but in reality it's perhaps a little bit more complex than it appears on the surface. So trolling, for those that are unaware, is, when people are just trying to be offensive or trying to go against the grain a little bit and to kind of mess around for their own pleasure to create displeasure in someone else. Now, there are kind of degrees of trolling. In my community, I certainly do have some trolls. I consider myself a little bit of a troll myself on occasion, to be perfectly honest. But it's generally done in a very light-hearted, jovial, jokey manner, okay? So it's a little bit different. We all kind of have our little ribs at each other, and we all kind of joke around, and we give each other a little bit of grief. And that's fine, and that's acceptable, as long as it's understandable that's the context that it's within. Quite often, it's not, especially when it's like a new member to the stream. Quite often, though, if the trolling occurs straight from the outset, it's meant maliciously, and it's meant in a negative way. Now, in those circumstances, you really should be taking a zero tolerance stance, because the more you allow it, the more it will grow, the more people would be attracted to like interact in the same way. So, you'd be looking to try and ban them more or less straight away. And generally the best advice is to give them minimal attention. So don't make a huge song and dance about having banned them. Don't, draw unnecessary attention towards having banned them or removed them or timed them out or whatever it is that you've done. Just move along with your day, give them minimal attention, because a lot of them are just seeking attention. And, when you've made some kind of comment about it, or you've drawn attention to the fact that you've had to do something about them, they get spurred to create another account, or return to try and do it again, and that's only going to exacerbate the problem. Now, that can usually work. However, like what I tend to prefer to do, and it's generally only if you're kind of well versed in how to deal with trolls that you should really try to do it, is you can kind of give them a bit of a comeback as they're heading out of the door in a really sort of sarcastic, dismissive kind of way. Like, oh, sweetheart, it was really sweet that you tried there. I mean, God, you got so close to upsetting me, but you just missed. I'm so sorry. Something like that. I find that works very well with female streamers who obviously experience quite a bit more trolling than their male counterparts, because it's just a general thing, isn't it? It's an unfortunate societal norm that women are kind of treated as an underclass on the whole. Now, I've seen a lot of good comebacks and a good set of slapdowns from female casters. In a sort of they'll typically come in and make some sort of comment about the way that the female caster is dressed, or that she's only useful for certain things or something like that. And in those contexts, it's like, oh, baby, it's really sweet that you've picked me as the girl that you want to put your affections onto, when in fact the only one that you've really met is your own right hand, or something like that. Just like really kind of giving them negative feedback against their trolling attempt. It can work very well, but again, like, you need to make sure that you're doing that right and handling it right, because obviously any attention you do give the troll is going to encourage them in some way, shape or form. But if you just make them sort of go, well, that completely backfired on me, then odds are they won't return at all, and they won't be encouraged at all, and you can kind of go on about your day, and you can almost turn it into a little bit of an entertainment piece for your chat and your viewers as well, with you handling them well, in the same way as a comedian would deal with hecklers. As I say, it's unfortunate that these people turn up, and it's certainly not a positive thing that these people can pop up and exist, but if you can deal with them in the same way as a comedian deals with a heckler, it can go off very well, and it can be quite entertaining to see it when it's done well. But again, only sort of try that if you're confident that you can do that well. And the other thing that's really worth keeping in mind is the changes that are occurring to Twitch's TOS and their community guidelines mean that you are responsible for the content of your chat. So if you've got trolls coming through and you're allowing them to continue to be trolly, to be offensive, to insult people, to generally be quite toxic and demeaning towards other people, you are responsible for that. So if you're not removing them from within your community, then you are responsible for their actions to a degree, because you're allowing it to occur in your space. You have the power to stop that from occurring, but you're choosing not to do so. And you can actually fall foul of Twitch TOS by not doing anything. So it's very much worth keeping in mind that when you are kind of tolerating trolls, it does reflect upon you. And if it is reported to Twitch as like a sort of more serious breach, where you're sort of cultivating this highly toxic culture within your community, then action can be taken. Now, again, obviously, If you are the victim of trolling, then that's not very likely to occur. But if it's being allowed to occur within your community, back and forth between the members of your community, and you're kind of accepting of that, that's when you can start to encounter some trouble with the TOS. So, in summary, for actual genuine malicious trolling, zero tolerance is the way to go, and don't give them any attention unless you're certain that you can do it in a real kind of slap down, comeback, snapback kind of way that is going to make that troll feel less keen to do anything like that to you, or perhaps even other people in the future.
Congratulations on making it through the course. I hope you guys are all set to start out your streams and have an amazing time with streaming on Twitch. So just to recap, some of the things that we did in this course is how to set up your stream, both the software and the hardware, basic graphics, design, aesthetic, and everything that goes along with that, marketing and networking tools to make sure that you have all the resources you need to make your stream successful and work for you, as well as tips and tricks for enjoying your stream and building a community, as well as dealing with some of the negative sides of putting yourself out on the internet. If you are looking for more ways, more lessons, more things that you can learn to help improve your stream and take it to the next level, the first that I would recommend is video editing. Being able to edit videos and create great products from your stream content or to supplement your stream content can be a really great way to cross-promote yourself as a personality and a content creator and an entertainer. And then also Photoshop and photography can be really nice as well for your social media presence and for making all of your graphics, your overlays, all of these things that go along with your stream. Now there's also some resources that you guys can use that already exist out there. One would be the Level Up Dojo website. There's a lot of great courses on there, as well as the Level Up Dojo blog that talks about a lot of the different common problems or advice or different scenarios and things that streamers deal with, as well as the community that goes along with that of a bunch of streamers who are all just like you, learning how to stream on Twitch and doing a great job with it. And there's also an attached audio guide by Tom Pushes Faders that really helps process your audio and can really push your audio to the next level with your stream without having to spend any money on new equipment. And then I would also recommend taking a look at a few other resources that are out there. Something like Linus Tech Tips on YouTube will give you information on a lot of the new equipment and hardware that's coming out so you can stay up to date on all the newest gadgets. And I would also recommend really honing in, picking some of your favorite streamers, maybe asking them what equipment they use, staying up to date on when they have new innovations in their streams so that you can also bring them to yours. The Twitch blog is a great place to keep updated on changes in Twitch policy and exciting new things that are coming. There's also the Streamlabs Twitter and blog that will keep you up to date on new software developments and tools that you can use to help with your stream. So that's it. That's all the lectures and resources we have for you guys with this Twitch streaming course. So I want to encourage you guys to make sure that you rate the course and let us know what you thought of it. And good luck. Have fun with setting up your stream, your equipment, managing your communities, and everything. You're going to do great. You're going to love it. Enjoy streaming.